Dolla Had a little problem with the mute there. Hello, welcome to Optional Rule. My name is Scott. I'm the host of this weekly show. I do Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop role playing game discussions, game prep, and a number of other things. Hello and welcome to the stream. I'm glad to have you here. I stream live every week at noon Eastern Time on both Twitch and YouTube. So I hope you'll join me there. And I really hope you'll join in the discussion. Sorry, I have to adjust my chair here. Um, I hope you'll join in the discussion. You'll ask the questions that you have about your game prep, your gameplay, anything that is focused on getting a real game played at the table and acknowledges the messiness of games at play, their interactions of people, their dynamic events. So they're very difficult things, and it's an evergreen topic. We can talk about this again and again and again over time, even what seems to be the same topic, because it's as different and as varied as the people that play games, and there's so many different angles, and the interplay of way things work together in games always keeps it interesting. It always has a yes but, it always has an if then. There's always an infinite number of permutations that you can work through in games that make it so interesting, and that's what I love to talk about games and gaming. So I hope you'll join in this discussion here. Thank you so much. It's great to have you here. Hey, Dungeon Meowster, it's great to have you here. I really appreciate you being around. Sorry, my Nightbot growled at you over the emotes. Sorry about that. Hi, Dungeon Meow. It's great to have you here. I don't have a specific topic to talk about today other than my game prep. I have a couple of topics I think are really interesting. So I would love to engage you a little bit with your thoughts on gaming, your suggestions as I go along, and anything you think is interesting to talk about. I'm going to start with a couple of topics that I thought were super interesting from this week. So I hope you'll have some feedback as well. And I want to start this by saying I try as hard as I can to be kind and compassionate and approach everything with an open heart and thinking about, well, I really want to have a good discussion here. So I hope you'll approach these conversations in exactly the same way. Be kind to people in the comments and give your insightful and truthful thoughts on things. So please don't be worried that someone will snap at you. But but realize that sometimes we talk about sensitive topics and people would want you to realize something about their point of view. So I hope you'll share your thoughts and be sensitive to other people in the stream. Be polite, be courteous, all those kinds of great things. So I had a post this week on creating captivating traps. I hope you'll enjoy that. I got great feedback on that. That leads me to the idea of next blog post that I'll do next week. I put up a poll this week that I thought was interesting to talk about. Hopefully you can see this in your browser, but I have a poll. I hope you'll participate in it. There's a couple of topics I threw out there that I thought were interesting, and I got some great responses on that I just want to sort of call attention to, because these are great resources for people who are thinking about something in this realm. The three topics I put out there were managing DM anxiety, a commentary on disabilities in gaming. Although that's such a broad category, I realized later, I didn't help my readers understanding what I was targeting at when I just put that broad title. Recruiting for games and others if they have other topics, and it's what I thought I would throw out there. I think. Thanks for lurking, Dungeon Meowster. I appreciate it. It's really, really great to have you here always. I actually hope people will recommend and go to Dungeon_Meowster on Twitter, on Twitch. They have a fantastic community there. They have a Discord you can get involved in, all this other stuff. Really amazing, amazing, amazing community. I hope you'll check them out on all of the social medias. You can also follow me. I'm Optional Rule everywhere, by the way. I'm optionalrule.com. I'm at blog. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitch. I'm on YouTube and all those things. So I hope you'll give me a like, follow, subscribe, all of the social media things. So back to this thread, the leading topic, and the one I'll probably do next week, but I'm sure I'll do all of these in the next couple of weeks, is managing DM anxiety. I'm actually not going to get into that because I'll blog about it here soon. And but the resources that are linked here are really more around disabilities in gaming. There's a lot of a lot of discussion that have happened around disabilities in gaming in the last couple of weeks, primarily because of the I don't know, people's misperception of what might be happening around Candlekeep Mysteries, the book coming out. I don't think there's as much controversy as we say on the Twitterverse about it. There's some people who have reacted poorly to I don't know why, but the idea that there's ramps in this game, or just, it seems such a silly conversation to have about questioning whether we should represent things in gaming. Because it's one of those things that I find myself laughing out of the awkwardness of the thought that I would even have to talk about this conversation, because at its heart, gaming is connected to speculative fiction. Speculative fiction is about the core, at its core, asking about what if, and the idea that you would exclude a very real world topic like disabilities or something like that from a genre whose whole aspect is about asking what if, is just so profoundly odd to me that I'm honestly at a loss for words at how to address that, other than I would ask you to think about that. I would ask you to think about that. And what to get to the resources, because I don't want to ignore that. And I'll mention these resources when I write something, although I'm a little intimidated about writing it. I have to admit. But there's some great, in this reply thread, I would encourage you to go through it. They mention a number of really fantastic advocates for disabilities, representation of disabilities in gaming, great resources. Evil Hat Productions specifically was called out with their, I forget the title of it, but this guide to disabilities in games, I think it is. It's $10. You can pick it up on DriveThruRPG or go to their site. Really amazing resource. So I just want to point to that thread and let you know to take a look at it. And please vote in that poll. Now, I'll quickly say what I'm targeting within disability in gaming. First of all, it's not going to be comprehensive because it's too large of a topic. Second of all, it's a blog. It's a blog post. So I'm going to talk about my point of view in there, obviously, as a blog post. I'm going to do research around it and talk to some other people. But what I want to achieve with that is I'm always, as I said earlier, I'm stunned at the conversation always aggregates at this point of, should disabilities be talked about in games at all? Which seems, again, I don't even know how we could ask that question. Of course, any of the human experience should be expressed in a sensitive and realistic way within games, because it's about the human experience and more. So I want to move past that and get into a conversation about ways to include disabilities in the game itself. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not qualified to talk about this in depth, but I would like to talk about a few ways you can consider representing people with disabilities in the game itself, so they're reflected there. And there's a spectrum of things that people can take. I might as well give a tease for that. I think that everybody is on. Everybody has some challenge in life, including me. I have a few physical disabilities. I spent about 8 years where I was really unable to walk. I have a neurocognitive disability where this actually is ironic about the blog post. I have a perception problem that makes it very difficult for me to read and write, which makes it ironic that I'm making a blog post, because I have so much anxiety around my writing and my speaking, which, again, it's ironic that I have a show because I replace words. I misstate words. I get confused. I do all of these things. Now I'm older and I've learned adaptive measures, and you'll find anybody who has some sort of disability, they're a perfectly valid human being who's fascinated, and they've adapted to life in a way that brings them quality and dignity to their life. They start out with dignity, of course, but that should be, I think that should be expressed in game in some realistic way, and that's what that blog post will primarily be about. So just some discussion of what that is. This is a meandering stream already this morning. So if you have any questions, go ahead and ask him about this very light topic, any other topic related to D&D. But I wanted to point that out, and I wanted to say what it would be. I'll be engaging some of the other people mentioned in that thread, but I'm hesitant. I'm scared because I have some difficulty writing. So the thought of writing about a serious topic like that, being able to do justice to it, being able to get my point of view across, being able to be sensitive to people on that pathway of doing all of that, makes me so anxious, right? Especially given Twitter and how Twitter can react. And I'm an older man, but I'm not immune. I think older people like to throw up this facade of being impervious to the slings and arrows of life and not being hurt. And true, I have a little bit of a thicker skin, but I can be hurt and I can be disappointed in myself. I can be disappointed in other people. I can do all kinds of things. So it makes me nervous, but I'm going to try to do it anyway. I'm going to start with this anxiety piece. It's going to be ironic because I'm talking about my anxiety right now. I also have an anxiety problem. But I don't talk about these. This is something I'll tease about it too. I don't typically talk about it, which is odd since I'm talking about it here, because like many people who have I'm fortunate. Fortunate is not the word, but my affect is it's not always obvious when you look at me that I have one thing or another, and so people don't know that about me. And I can say when especially when I was in my wheelchair, I became just that to people. I had to work a lot in life to not just be the guy in the wheelchair, or not just be the guy with the learning disability, or not just be the guy like just not anyone with that struggles to not be that thing only. That thing is you, but you're not it, right? Does not represent the totality of your life, and so I don't talk about it because I don't want that to be the major way that I interact with people. I don't want that to be the interface because I'm a full human being like everybody else. And so I'm very sensitive. I'm very cautious about this. And anyway, I'm talking about a lot. Anyway, we should talk about how we represent this in games in a sensitive, great way that gives dignity to those characters in the game. And we avoid tropes. So I want to get past this discussion of whether we should even be talking about disabilities in gaming and on to a discussion of what might it look like if we represented disabilities in games, and understanding that this is a smallest piece of the slice of the pie that you can probably get, and we should encourage other people with points of view to make their statement about ways we can do this positively too. That's what that's focused on. All right, I'm going to move on for that. I have I'll be posting the anxiety and D&D thing because I get that question all the time. So I'll be talking about that quite frequently. All right, let's get to games. Let's talk about games and prepping this game for next week. Where we're going with that's probably a little small for you. I'm going to increase the size. Boop, bump, bump, bump. So let's talk about my Rime of the Frostmaiden game. And again, welcome to the stream. If you have any observations, themes, things that you want to add, please do. I'd love to talk about any topic related to D&D. I had a great response this morning to my Self-Promotion Saturday post, where there's a great post there. I suggest you go check it out. I have a couple great posts on my, I would say it's great I wrote them, right? On my blog. I hope you'll check that out at optionalrule.com. So let's talk about Rime and the Frostmaiden and where I am gaming wise. I am at the precipice of a mystery with my game itself. And I'm going to actually fill in a lot of that today. If you have suggestions, I would really love to hear it. I use a technique called Return of the Lazy Dungeon Masters, Lazy DM prep technique. It's a book by Sly Flourish. I highly suggest you check them out. They're really great observations on community and so forth. But it basically, you list out the players and what their goals are. I add a couple. This is my own flourish on it, by the way. I always keep a note on themes and where we were, so I can keep focused on what we're trying to accomplish. I list out the plot threads that I have. I list out a strong start to start the session with to engage players in it, and I talk about potential scenes and secrets that they might run into. So where are the players right now? So we've been working through Rime of the Frostmaiden. They're kind of coming to this climax of the 10 Towns series of adventures, where the 10 Towns have been locked in a perpetual winter for about 2 years, dark winter. So it's been perpetual darkness, perpetual winter. There's a little line I drew on my map. This is the 10 Towns area right here. I have modified heavily this module so that basically there is a conspiracy between a faction I call the Charlton Syndicate that I created, that is basically bad guy faction. They're trying to politically take over the 10 towns from the legitimate Speakers Council. The towns being stressed by this winter, they're cut off from supplies. The only way the legitimate Speakers Council has to get real supplies in every month is every new moon they send a caravan out through the mountains to take people out and bring bunches of supplies back in to feed the people of the 10 towns. Well, the Charlton Syndicate, who has not been able to get elected to the Speakers Council, except for one person who was able to get in, they are deciding to subvert the Speakers Council, cut off the supplies. They're working with the Duergar to cut off the supply lines coming into Icewind Dale. So the Duergar ambush this caravan every month to try to cut off the supply lines. And in the meantime, the Chartland Syndicate folks, they bring in their own supplies every month, and mysteriously nobody knows where they've been getting them from, and they distribute it to the town and undermine the legitimate Speakers Council and try to get people to follow them and cause a rebellion. So the way they're getting these supplies, the players have discovered this over multiple sessions, is that it's actually coming through the Underdark. This conspiracy they have with the Duergar to ambush and shut off the main supply line, and bring supplies through the Underdark to make themselves look better. That's the core of the conspiracy. Now the players don't know how these supplies are getting there, and they're just about to discover it. So they know that Shir Dinaval, which is the only sort of keep in the area, has been cut off, and there's funny goings on there. There's a magical thing I created called the Heart of Winter magical region that seems to be centered and coming out of here. The towns are making sacrifices to stop that from happening every month, but it's been happening. So they get to this place at Shir Dinaval. They've discovered that there are some devils hanging around. They've discovered that this magical region that I created has a concentrated energy there, and that the speaker is locked up in the, I'm going to go to the town map here. Sure, Dinaval, there we go. They get to the town, the place is cut off. The speaker is held up in this keep right here, hasn't been seen in weeks. The people here are sort of hunkered down, sort of resigned to their fate that they think they're going to die. The players asking around, they ran into a devil as they got close to here, who offered them a devil's deal of, if you let one person run, make one person run and cast them out from your party, we'll chase and kill them and let you go, because that's what devils do. Of course, the party wasn't going to do that. They got in a fight with these devils, defeated them last round. They get into town, realize the speaker hasn't been heard from. Nobody can get to the castle. There's some folks held up there. And then they hear that every couple days, these wagons come out of the castle and head into the 10 Downs. And they know they connected that to the mystery of where these supplies are coming from. They got in a fight with one of these wagons trying to get some information from it, discovered that these are some devil worshippers that are running this evil caravan. And now they want to go into the keep itself to discover what's going on. So wrong window there. So where we left off last game, the players were at the keep at Shir Dinaval. They had climbed up the back of this keep. You probably can't see it. These are some NPCs that are in there. And this is the players who these are Skyrim style towers. They're sort of collapsed tops. They were 2 stories at one time, and the roof is collapsed, and they're able to climb over the top, get into this top layer, and now they're figuring out what next to do. So what they don't know, and again, this is a moderately modified version of this from the module. In the module itself, each site is independent, not really connected to a greater conspiracy. I added all of this conspiracy information in. And in the raw module, this town is just kind of sitting there randomly with these devil cultists hanging around I didn't tease out a great reason from the module. So I've added a reason that's kind of not important. They're running this conspiracy. This is how the supply lines for these subverting supplies are coming in. I've said that in this lower tower here, there's an elevator that goes down into the Underdark. That the Underdark basically uses a small river, which is what this area here is going to represent, to ferry in supplies. They're loaded on a wagon. I'll use this room here, which is used for something else in the module that's not important. They load up the supplies. It goes up this elevator, ends up in this tower, and then they start sending them out into the 10 towns to be the MacGuffin in this conspiracy thing that's happening. So that's essentially what I'm doing. Let me get a little closer to my mic. Run down the clipping. Okay. So that's I'm getting a little too hard clipping there. Sorry about that, everybody. All right, so that's the core of what we're trying to do. So the adventure to unfurl is get into the keep, find this supply line that the Chartland Syndicate is using to undercut the legitimate Speakers Council, free some prisoners, like the town speaker is being held prisoner, a few other things like that, and remove this devilish influence that's happening in the region. one of the other mysteries. So that's why this is the culmination. They'll unravel a conspiracy. They'll shut down the conspirators' main supply line. And the last bit is I've set up something called a magical region that I adopted from not from Tasha's, yeah, from Tasha's Cauldron or Everything. It came out a couple weeks ago. I like, they have this thing in there called magical regions, which is if you set, I'm going to my write up for this, by the way. If you set a certain set of conditions, you might roll randomly on a table to determine an effect that happens in that magical region. So I have this, you can find it on my blog, Heart of Winter Supernatural Region. So I've set it that basically in this case, any creature that hits anytime a creature hits 0 hit points, anytime you cast a spell that does thunder, cold, or fire damage, and anytime a creature is paralyzed. I haven't enacted this yet, but anyway, that's if this happens over the course of adventure, it triggers one of these magical effects. I roll a d100, and any number of things can happen, from all flames are extinguished. That's it. Pretty and heat effects or control temperature spells fail, all the way up to like someone might turn into a yeti. There's lots of this. Now the reason this exists is because of the deal with this archdevil. That's what these cultists represent. The deal, they'll find a devil's contract down here between the Chartland Syndicate and the folks within, that they have to make the sacrifices to this devil, or they'll visit this on the region. So if the players burn the deal, they're going to find this deal somewhere in this keep. If they destroy the deal, and they have to figure out how, actually, so if you have an idea, what would be an interesting way for the players to destroy a magical contract that has been sealing this area in this magical effect? I'd like to find out. I need to work that out. The rest are fairly straightforward. I need to work out a few interesting traps. I wrote a whole article last week about captivating traps. Now I need to build one here. I kind of have an idea for what that might be. And a few other things like that. So that's what I have to work out this week. That's what I'm going to do in the remainder of this stream. So again, if you have ideas, if you have thoughts, if you have suggestions, please go ahead and drop them in the doobly-doo down in the chat. I would love to hear from you. But let me close out some of these windows. So I am over to my notes. So the way I do this is I've written where we are. We're at Shared Dinnerval. Suspecting it is a source of supplies used in the conspiracy between the Chartland Syndicate and the Duergar, the players discover a mysterious band of devil worshippers held up in the keep, and the town speaker is missing. That's the setup. The players are at the top of the tower, about to invade it, hoping it's a sort of a quasi-stealth mission, quasi-combat mission. Their real goal here is going to be isolate pockets of enemies within this keep, preventing other enemies from getting involved or hearing them, and carrying out their mission. What do I want out of this session? This is one of I put my themes that I'm always trying to get. Now, what do I want out of this session? So I want this to be a climax to the teased storylines of the 10 towns. So I want this to climax I want them to unravel the bit about the conspiracy for the Chartland Syndicate. I want them to shut down the sort of subvertive supply lines, and then let the other supply lines continue and open up. I want them to undo this magical region. So undo the things they'll undo. Shut down Duergar. I don't know how to spell that. Supply lines. And the magical region effect. They'll also release the speaker, and this freeze. Why do I want this? Why this climax? The way this module is designed, the way Icewind Dale goes, is the first 4 levels are designed to keep the players in this 10-town regions, ping-ponging back and forth between pickup adventures, and that's it. That's a 1 to 4. The 4 to 7 campaign is getting involved in the wider regional area. So they basically do the same thing with more interesting and higher level engagements with frost giants and a great whale, awakened whale that they can go through, or a prison, or basically these regional thing. So I want to free them up. I want to tie these loose threads up to free the players so they're not turtling into 10 towns. They feel like they've got, okay, I've got the 10 towns settled. They're able to survive. We've done something solid for them. Let me begin to look more broadly across the region and get involved there. That's what I want at its core out of this session. So I want to wrap that up. So players feel free to adventure in the wider region. And I'm trying not to do too much bleed over. I want this to be a gap. I want this to be a breather for the players. Okay, I can make some magic items. I can do some downtime. I can look more broadly. So that's what I want out of it. So what's my strong start? Hiding. So there's always a strong start. What the strong start does for you is it engages players into the session immediately. It's a way to, it's not just a, okay, we were here. What do you guys think you might want to do? And go into a debate about what it is they want to do. If you can, you want to give them something to actively engage in immediately at the beginning of the session, whether that's an interesting piece of role play, a mystery, an event that they're observing, or even better, a combat or something like that. So that roots the players. Okay, we've begun. You're at the top of this tower trying to get into the keep. You're afraid you might be discovered at any moment and alert everybody inside. What do you do? That's how we start this session. And you come up with some strong start for every session. So it's hiding at the top of the tower, hoping not to be discovered. I want to add some spice here. So they're at the top of this tower. There's a little trap door that goes down into this keep. Let me go back to the map. Wrong map. All right, into this little, this is Foundry VTT, by the way. So they're at the top of this tower that goes into this under region. This is where the elevator into the Underdark is. So this, I don't want them to blow past the rest of this content. So I'm going to say that this hatch is magically sealed. It's an iron hatch. It's locked. It's going to give them an indicator that there's some important element of the something to hide in there, because it's the most secured tower. They might still be able to get through it, but I doubt it. And if they do, they do. That's fine. But there's some other cultists around here. They can secure the main gate. They can take out these other cultists. There's an old person sort of hanging around that give them a bit of a lore dump up here, back on the first level. If they're able to get through this is one of the leaders of the cult. If they're able to get, would be the most sensible way in, because this is an iron door as well. They're not going to be able to get in. And just banging on it would alert everybody in the keep. So the pathway basically comes through this character's office, which is the main tiefling head of this cult. So if they can get in here, then they can descend into the Underdark. Down here, there's a member of the Arcane Brotherhood who they've been sort of pursuing. They know the Arcane Brotherhood is out there. They're high level. They're way beyond the players. So that'll be a nice capstone. What I'm hoping the capstone moment of this adventure is they run across this person of the Arcane Brotherhood. Now this person's, I think it's a CR8 or something like that creature. They're third level. This person is not going to lose to the party. So there's a great moment. This is my one nod to teasing to the next set of 4 to 7 adventures. Matt Colville has a great video about this where he talks about showing the parties the big bad guy early on in the adventure. I did that in the 1 to 5 story bracket, because in the very first session the players had an ambush by the Duragar and knew I set the stakes that the caravan was a very important lifeline to the people of the region, and that there was ambushes to happening. So this is going to end that storyline. This is episode 3, basically, of this first trilogy. And now I'm setting up the 4 to 8 by letting them see this bad guy. They're feeling their power a little bit because they're facing enemies that are CR2, CR1, and they're able to really burn through them a little bit. But they'll get to the CR7 or 8 mage who's going to handedly just knock them all out and brush them aside and teleport out. I'll have them get in one of these rooms. The contract that I'm saying is going to be the MacGuffin I use to shut down this magical deal with the devil that they have. But that's a great technique to have the players get through their victory. There's a little bit of a little bit of bittersweet that they'll chase this NPC out, but It's because the party is beneath this NPC. They're not going to take their time to argue with these people. They're just going to leave to go over do whatever it is else they do, and they'll encounter them at the capstone of the 4 to 7 adventure. But at least they will have seen them now, and now this is a real NPC to them. So that's the sort of the pathway I'm trying to get to. And I need to create some secrets that are interesting. I need to create some traps that are interesting. So hiding at the top of a tower, hope to not to be discovered. The trap door into the tower is iron and strongly secured. Now, again, I want to nudge the players in this pathway, but if they come up with a valid way to get around that, I will totally go with it. It's a bad GM habit to get into, to force to railroad players too much. People misunderstand what railroading is, but it's just a bad thing to do. So that's my strong start. I have a couple potential scenes. I really don't need to get into it other than just in case, like maybe I always have to have these because this set of players specifically will sometimes go, no, I'm going to go off and do this whole other thing. And I've been like, okay, what do I do? So I always like to at least give the scenes that are happening in the rest of the world, because the world runs in the background. This is not a video game, right? Where the quests wait for the players to get there. The other plot threads are advancing as the players are elsewhere. I don't want to do that so much that the players are turtling up, but I want to do it to let them know that the world is progressing. That it's a living, breathing world. So in Bryn Shander, the Speakers Council is meeting to discuss the fate of something called the Cauldron of Plenty. Debate, not discuss. The fate of the Cauldron. By the way, I can't spell worth crap. So that is basically, so there's two competing storylines here. There's a cauldron of plenty that the players recovered a couple of ventures ago. There's a debate in amongst the 10 towns of how that should be divided to feed people, because this is supplemental food and supplies for everybody. So there's a debate that the legitimate Speakers Council is going to have about how do they divide the bounty of this that the players recovered up between the town members. Meanwhile, in East Haven, though, the Charterland Syndicate is going to try to steal it, because they're not playing with debates or votes or democracy. They are playing with this is leverage for them to control the 10 towns. Are going to steal the cauldron. So what do I want outcome-wise for this? Now, this is an interesting bit. I don't want the players to think, oh, geez, I wasn't able to handle this. This is the technique I use in game mastering, and I would suggest you consider as well. A great technique is I love the players to feel like all of the relationships, all of the set pieces they put in play prior to this benefit them in some meaningful way. So what I mean by that is the players have made a few alliances, they've empowered a few other NPCs, and if they come back, and it will be a kind of a buzzkill if they come back out of this big adventure and discover, oh God, this thing we recovered from has been stolen too. The moment I look away, something happens. That's a bit of a buzzkill. But instead, if they get back, they hear this all played out, someone tried to steal it, and the NPCs that the players empowered before, allied with before, use the resources the players brought to defeat that. Then they feel like, oh my God, I'm actually making a difference in this region. These people are able to help themselves. And it's not this paternal colonial kind of attitude of the players always helping everybody out. It's about the players' impact in the world becomes evident to them. The stakes are set. They know this is a danger for the 10 towns. If they're able to see, if I'm able to show the players what you have done had a positive impact, and you can set yourself up for success, that drives the players to do that more and more and more and more throughout the entire campaign. So I'm going to have this happen at East Haven, and they need to come up with what that is. So the Harpers Guild. So the main people that the players have thrown in with is the Harpers Guild. and which is I'm running here again. This is a plot line I added. They're super secret. Again, I don't get into my background too much, but I was a former Army intelligence specialist, so sorry. That's my experience. So I in counterinsurgency. So I've been having a lot of intrigue around the Harper's Guild. They were assassinated 5 years ago, like 90% of them. So the remaining 10% went underground. And I'm using this strong, like they're in hiding. They're using very strict techniques of separation and communication. And so they're this resource the players have gotten into secretly. And they've been very diligent about keeping all of the Harper stuff secret. So I want to pay that off now. I want the Chartland Syndicate to have come out, stolen this cauldron, but they ended up getting ambushed by some secret people on the road that belong to the Harper's Guild. And I don't know how I'm going to express that yet. So if you have ideas, don't keep them secret. Please post them in the chat. But that's what I want with the Harper's Guild. I want the speaker of a town called Tourmaline. I think that's how you pronounce it. Use the town guard to stop them. All right, so this is, I mean, the details aren't important, but it's a MacGuffin I set up where the players have gotten in close with this speakers council. They have, with this one speaker in this one town, there's a debate between who controls the town guard. This will be an assertion that he now controls them, and the control of that has helped overturn the thievery. I want to tie it back to one more NPC, which is a tiefling that they ran across who got a bunch of money out of somebody. They were the surviving member of a family that was murdered by this cold-hearted killer quest early on in Rime and the Frostmaiden, and the players got them set up comfortably in a place. So I want them to also participate. So it's not Yassine, Yashir. I don't know. I need to come up with something. I'll have to think about it. So she's sitting there. She has some servants. She has some. How would she help in this? I don't know. I may not be able to think of something, but I'll have to think about that basically somehow. So these are potential scenes. So if the reason why I'm listing them in potential scenes is if the players decide this keep is too much for us, which they've debated, and they go back to Bryn Shander, they're going to run right into the middle of the speaker, into the speakers council debating it. If they go to East Haven, where the cauldron actually is, they'll discover this plot to steal it and get involved in that. So I have a couple of regions where the players might go that they can get involved in something, but they're likely going to stay here at Shir Dinaval. There's something, by the way, I didn't include where I had some foreshadowing. I ended up not including that. That's fine. Yeah, this one right here, a sign covered in ice hang. I meant to put this last session when they first come into Shir Dinaval to give them some foreshadowing. So a sign covered in ice hangs askew from a signpost with one broken chain. A red fish under a white tower against a blue background. I wanted that to be like something's askew here. And I'm not a writer, so all these are heavy-handed and clumsy, but I am going to put that under the scene so I remember it this time. They're going to see that at the keep. They're going to see it at the keep. And I'm going to put it up here. I don't want that to be a secret. I want that to be basically like a box text, red box text. They ran across the spine devils in this area last time. They asked them to sacrifice. I don't need any of this. Families are dead in the snow. Don't need that. They know about the people huddling together. So there are, all of this can go. Stat shift, community fire, All right, so there's a couple. I need more secrets for here. So there's already some secrets the players suspect, but they don't know. So the Duragar supply lines are coming in through the base of the keep through a passage to the Underdark. How can they shut it down? So this is an underground river. An underground river that's been dammed off to open a path. That lets the players undam it and let it flow again, so they can cut off that path to the Underdark. If you look at this, this is a cistern in the original module. What I'm doing here is actually saying it's an underground river. I'll just have to describe to the players, because obviously this whole thing doesn't fit. I'll say this eastern side goes in a passage downward, and that they're bringing up, I don't know, something, a boat or something like that. I don't know. I'm gonna have to say something like that. That's the other reason why I'm adding this elevator, because it needs to go way, 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 way down to get to the Underdark, to get to this river. So I need to separate it enough to do it. So one of the other secrets, a trap. I wanted an interesting trap. If you saw my blog last week, I made this sort of interesting trap post, how to make interesting traps. It was my assertion of that. I'm actually going to use that in my own campaign. You should eat your own dog food. If you're a game designer, you write things for games. If you're not using it in your own games, that should tell you something about what you're writing. So going down here, I have a whole bit about how to add it, but basically I'm going to get to this. So this is CR10. I'm going to copy this so I can use my own trap. So what do I want? I want a CR, I want to be slightly above because I want it to be deadly. So a CR5 trap I want for the players here. I'll copy this down here just to have a reference, and I'll delete it when I'm done. So there is a trap. Yep, that's not what I wanted. Come on, buddy boy. Don't leave me hanging. I don't know why it's doing that. Trap on elevator. I want something that gives a little bit more action than just doing damage. So I want a halfway down. If they don't, what do I do? If they don't, halfway down, I mean, talk about the trigger. So the disarm at the top of the shaft. Describe, as a DM, I'll describe a bunch of levers and ropes. A complex series. Describe a complex series of levers and ropes. The players, unless they do a investigation, won't be able to know there's a trap, but one of those levers would disarm it. One of those levers disarm it. And what is the trap? The trap is a falling rock. I should just say up here, falling rock trap. So what do I want? Players are halfway down on this big wooden elevator. They're halfway down the shaft, this long shaft. It will be maybe 200 feet or something like that. Halfway down, it dislodges a boulder from the top of the shaft, which goes plummeting down, will smash the elevator and send anybody on it plummeting to the bottom. So I will add. So there's a couple of things I want. I want to tease it. I want to give the players a chance to avoid it, and I want to create some more action than just like, well, you got hit by a rock, now you're dead. I don't want to do that. So I will tease this, as they go down the shaft. They see a giant loose boulder just below the top. So they'll start going down in the elevator. It's got no sides to it, and they'll sort of see. I'll let them roll a perception roll. It'll be an easy one. Out of 4 people, someone's going to hit it. They kind of vaguely notice this. It seems like an odd shaft because there's this sort of loose boulder mounted into the side, like just sticking out of the side of the wall. As they go by it, they get about halfway. They'll start questioning, what was that? They keep going down the shaft. Halfway down, they'll hear this bump. It hits this lever that was obviously out on the rail that the elevator is going down. It jerks the elevator that they're on, and they hear this sort of scraping and dislodging sound from high above them. I'll describe that. So bumps the elevator and throws a lever that pulls a rope or something. That pulls a rope above. Rope heading above them. They hear grinding and a boulder and something dislodge, something large dislodge. I don't want to say boulder directly. I want them to infer it. It's not that hard, but I want them to do some work here. And hear something large dislodge. So they're going to know that this rock, or hopefully they're going to figure it out, this rock is starting to fall on them. And my spell corrector is not working. Notion, I'm using Notion SO, by the way. So I'll give them, if they say something. So here we go. If players say they get to the side or hold on to the wall, give them a chance to avoid it. Give chance to avoid. So let me get to the DC again. I want this to be a DC 5 trap. So this is a, well, that might be too high. I'm gonna bring it down damage wise, by the way. So this is a DC 5, CR, not DC, sorry, CR 5 trap. The third level though, I'm gonna do CR 4 trap. That does 4d10 of damage, 4d10 damage, or half if save. Not 1/3, half if save. DC for this on my own guide here. I use this as an easier guide than you find in Xanathar. Xanathar has a great traps expanded, but it's way too complex for me. I don't see the need for it. So it's just a save DC of half. So it's 12, DC of 12, which makes sense. It's a big old boulder. They can move to the side and they can grab on. Now, I want a little bit more than that. I want his DC 12 save to not take damage from the rock. This could be potentially deadly. Let me talk through all the elements and I'll get back in a second. So if they take damage from the rock, then they need some athletics check to hold on to the elevator itself. So then there's a athletics check to grab elevator or shaft. Let's say that's a DC, because it'll come apart, obviously. That's a DC, we'll say 12 again. We'll just keep all the 12 since that's the DC 12 to hold on. To grab elevator shaft to hold on. So that's what they'll do. If they fail their original save, this is that disadvantage if they fail original save. So it'll take half as much. It'll be 4d10, which is a lot. On average, we're going to do about 22 points of damage. They'll fall if they take. This is a potentially deadly trap for them. This could be quite deadly, actually. So do I want to do this? So, I'm thinking of like, no, you know what? Don't be easy on them. This is a big adventure. Let's do it. I might actually bump these down to 4d6. Actually, now that I think about it, that's an easier way. So it still stays the same CR. Matter of fact, I think I should not 8 but 6, 4d6 because I'm adding these all these other effects. I should have been bumping up the CR, because the last thing they can do is if they don't hold on, they fall, or if they get knocked out, they'll automatically fall. But they fall the remaining 50 feet, and that's if they fall. They take 5d6 damage. Take 5d6 damage. If they don't fall, they're holding on. They'll have to do a climb check to get all the way down. If a couple people have fallen and are knocked out and taking death save throws, the people at the top will be able to see that, and they'll have to hurry down to get to them before they start failing all their saves. It's theoretically possible the entire party fails and they all end up at the bottom of the shaft. I'll handle that separately. I can have an NPC take them prisoner basically and throw them in a jail. I really don't think that's going to happen, but them's the breaks of gaming. So yeah, boy, that's a really deadly trap. So the series of steps here are: they can notice the boulder. They can disarm the trap at top if they look for it. They can notice the boulder and stop and go, wait a minute, this looks funny. That's another possibility, and go back up to look. If they don't, they trigger the trap. They have a chance to even tell me. If they tell me that they're doing something, if they react immediately, give advantage on save DC. That's also, and athletic check. So this way, even if they fail the save DC with advantage, their advantage on athletics undoes the failure, the disadvantage on athletics if they failed. So I like that. So there's a couple series of interactive things. There's several steps to this. Some of them might fall down the shaft. Some of them might be holding on to the edge of the elevator rail, and they'll be stuck with this decision of, do I climb down quickly to save the people making death saves at the bottom, assuming they are. And even if they don't, even if everybody holds on, they still have to figure out how to hold on to this elevator and shimmy down to the bottom with no equipment. Here, it's a danger of falling because it is a sheer, or they have to come up with some plan about levitate or something like that. So this creates a sort of interactive trap, raises the stakes, gives them some agency to decide what they want to do, and moves the entire plot forward. So I like it from that point of view. So I'll go ahead and erase this, my little guideline for how to build traps. So yeah, that's what that trap is going to have. The rest of the stuff is already laid out in the module. I'm running that similarly to how I'm running the module itself. All right, so now I need this contract. So this is the last bit I need to settle a question for this adventure. So what you have at the bottom of here, this is the sort of the climax of the adventure itself. The players have gone through these cultists one way or another. Either they've defeated them above, or they're at the bottom of the elevator now, and they don't have to worry about them. They're cut off. There's one or two, I think. There's no more cultists down here. There's a brown mold in one of these rooms. It's cold. This trap, they might have landed at the bottom and been taking damage, but that's it. There's no other creatures down here to worry about except this member of the Arcane Brotherhood. The players come in here and they realize there's a shrine to Levistus, who's the devil, the devil prince or whatever that they've been making deals with. This is where I want the contract. The contract should be written in blood, of course, as all devil contracts are. So there's a contract with, let me get the name of this creature. Lev ist ust. Okay, Lev ist dust. In the chamber, stating that the region must make sacrifices or they visit the storms on the Ten Town. All right, so these cultists have beseeched the help, power, right? In exchange for this, cultists get power. So this does a couple of things. It unravels the power of these devil cultists. It removes the danger of the magical regions from the area. How do the players destroy this contract? I imagine it's going to be this crystalline. I mean, let's come up with, if you have a great idea, give me that idea. But it'll be a oh no, ooh, this is even better. I like this idea better. It will be, this is grim though. So sorry, warning. It will be so what I'm thinking of, it would be a person held in some sort of stasis with this contract scribed into their skin, right? That they're held sort of alive on the precipice of death, and that's some person. That's what I'm thinking. And the players have to release and heal them. But who would it be? Like, why did this matter other than it being creepy? I don't want to be creepy for creepy's sake, although it is a devil, right? Who would it be? I can't think. Like the candidate that jumps out at me is it's this speaker. They're one of the things they're looking for, and they're already somewhere else in the keep. Is this elderly speaker who has been missing for several weeks and not present? I could say it's that person, that's where they've been. I could say there's a couple of plot holes there because I've already established that it's only been a few months since the speaker's been missing, and that the storms have been going on for like 9 months. So, but honestly, I don't think the players will realize that. So they might not notice that plot hole, but it bugs me as a DM. I could just hand wave it and say that the speaker was an impersonator, or there was just Yeah, I could say that. So I have some outs there. You know what? I might as well say it's the speaker. In exchange for this cultist get power. All right, they sacrificed. I'll even say the speaker used to be a paladin. The speaker used to be a paladin, enemy of the devil. This Levistus. The deal is written on their flesh. They are held in stasis in near the idol, in the idol room. So how can the players basically need to release them. It would be interesting if they had like a dispel magic to do it, but I have a paladin in the group, I have a wizard in the group. Could they do something to undo the spell? Obviously, the thing that seemed like it would be able to do is heal them. Like if they could heal them, which the players have access to, healing breaks the contract. I could have them just there in stasis, the players not knowing how, emphasize the wounding and things like that. If the players don't get it, give them arcana or religious rolls to get around it. That's a possibility. Or let the idea occur to them first, obviously. But if they don't get it, the backup is just the religious rolls, and the backup after that is they find a journal in the Arcane Brotherhood's person's room once they leave, that tells them what to do. Actually, I think that's good enough. If I don't think of something else, healing breaks the contract. DC 15, because that's what I generally set for. It takes somebody with some knowledge, religion, arcana, roll to determine, to figure out, figure that out. Alternatively, there's a journal in the Arcane Brotherhood's room, and lastly, if players read Infernal, they can read the contract. They can read the contract, which would be creepy, but sure. Yeah, I would describe this person sort of locked in a silent scream. Locked in a silent scream. And even, I'm going to give them a noble... I'm going to give them a noble reason to be locked like this. Let's say they are holding on. I like the idea that they were given some out. Like if they just let go and die, they would be released from this suffering, but some terrible thing would happen, right? But maybe I'm layering too many things on here, though. I am. I already have this contract. I have the area magic. I don't need to layer on another thing. But it would be, this is revenge. I'll say this is revenge. So I need a way to bridge the gap on this story. So Pepper, the rooms above ground with artifacts of the speaker's history as a paladin and fighting devils in the region. About 3 minutes left, so we'll wrap up here just in a minute. Yeah, so that would do it. So that the players will have. So yeah, that's a solid session. Matter of fact, I may not be able to. I always do these prep things, and I end up not getting through all the content. So that's a solid session. The players land at the top of this tower for the game. They need to figure out a way to get in and figure out what's going on inside. I assume, now I don't know, but I assume they're going to retake the gate here, overpower these cultists, which is good because it's too far to alert these other people. One of them might try to run for it, but there's enough locked doors that I'm not worried about that. They'll undo a couple of these other cultists in these rooms. This is where the original speaker was supposed to be, actually. This is where the speaker's held up. I'm actually going to remove them from here and put them down below. So I remind myself. This is a great thing I like to do, by the way, on virtual tabletops. I put out all the set pieces at once. That gives me an idea of who can hear what, how far away are they. I don't have to reference back and forth on the map. This works out pretty well for me. So I'll have this person sort of lounging in the speaker's room, because that's the speaker's room. That's where all, and you can see as I select them, you can see what they see. Like down here, these people are able to see out these murder holes, but they won't see the players coming in. If I go over the players, they can see this little tower they're in. So as you can see, it's segmented off enough to make a sensible reason why you could have a fight without it all descending. There's a NPC, an old woman NPC here who is a part of the cult, and she can give them the lore dump as to why all this is happening. She'll like, she'll be an old lover. I love that. She'll be an old lover. Oh, that's a tropey thing, isn't it? What if it was the mother? That's even better. Okay. All right. So I'm having all these ideas. So what you have in the original modules, you have this old woman, this hag, kind of sitting in a rocking chair. She's part of the cult, and she's kind of a lore dump for the players as to why it's happening. So what if this character was the mother of the paladin who is being tortured? Of the speaker. It's an elderly paladin. People don't think they have parents too. They do. They have a really elderly parent. The hag, the old woman that is part of the cult, is the mother. Now, I don't like mother. Is the sister of the paladin speaker. That's what I like. That's great. I love those connections. So because I don't have to add a ton of lore, it's just immediately like, ooh, that's creepy. It sets something for the game and makes it more flavorful. All right, so they go through here. They free these top rooms. They meet this old woman up here. She'll give them the lore dump, sort of a resentful, bitter. And if they even kill her, she'll be consumed by the devil itself. Then they come down here. These other towers are sort of meaningless. Once they get down here, they can sort of the easiest way is to get through these rooms, get into the cult leader right here, wipe out this room, and then go down the elevator and then tie things off by encountering down here this trap, that big trap I just talked about, realizing that this river is a supply line, that there's a dam here that they can release and shut down this river, and then they can get into this this room here, which is where the contract is, release the paladin, undo the devil's contract, undo the magical region danger, and then kick off with this last tease of the Arcane Brotherhood member who will sort of say, you are beneath me. I should have known these fools would have let me down sooner or later. And she'll open a gate and teleport out, leaving supplies behind. And there'll be some random notes or whatever, because she doesn't care. And sort of leave the players to discover the notes and treasure and things like that. That caps off the adventure. The magical region is free. The 10 towns are free of this pressure. They can go back and sort of lord it over the Charlatan Syndicate, who has now been defeated. Their attempt to steal this cauldron has been defeated. And that other speaker has been arrested. So that again speaks to the 10 towns having this agency of their own. They can take care of things on their own. It was just the players needed to undo this pressure, this artificial evil that was happening. And it releases them into the rest of the region. They'll hit level 4 and they go on and do their thing. Man, I like that. This has been great. This has been great. All right. I want to thank you for joining me today. If you're watching this later, I hope you'll go ahead and give me a follow on social media. I'm Optional Rule on Twitter. I'm very active there. I have a blog, optionalrule.com, no spaces. I have this Twitch channel or YouTube, whichever you're looking at it on. The archive for this and previous shows is really held on YouTube. I'm not a Twitch affiliate. This is a small channel, so I'm probably never going to be one. So they only retain so much of an archive there. But you can go over to YouTube, see those other channels. I really appreciate it. I hope you give me a like, a follow, a subscribe. I really hope you'll share this on your social media. It's a way to help the channel grow. It's a way to help to bring these resources to other people. I hope you'll share my blogs, do all of those things as well. So that would be really helpful to me, and I would really appreciate it. And I hope you'll hit me up on Twitter, send a message of things you might have liked, not liked, things you would love to see discussed in the future, or if you have feedback, please send it to me on Twitter. That would be great. So thank you very much for joining. Like, subscribe, all those things. Thank you very much. So I'll be back next week at noon on Saturday Eastern Time, just like every week, to discuss more D&D. I hope you'll join me then. All right. Thank you very much. In the meantime, I'm queuing up my music here. Brindletown. I'm using Sirenscape for my music, if anyone has ever wondered what that is. Anyway, Thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I hope you'll join me next week. Remember, until next week, fun is not optional. Thank you, everybody. You take care.